This route is not quite right for that Wilkinson. It's a little narrow. I mean, you know, not wide. The depth is probably okay, but it needs to be just a tiny bit wider. So I'm building a routing template for that. Basically, I looked at the dimensions of that thing and decided that we needed, I don't remember, 1/8 of an inch more width, I think. I don't remember. I've had these little strips of MDF laying around for a while, and at one point, because I mean, there are a lot of times I need to route a stupid box, so I labeled them all box, and I made sure that one edge of all of them was nice and clean. So a lot of setup for one quick little route. I'm frying my brain trying to figure out just exactly where to place this trim route. The best I can tell, and I don't know if this is the best thing to look at, but the block is what we're concerned with here. I think from the front of the block to the average end of the saddles, we're looking at about 3/8 of an inch. Now, for this route to work quite right, I think, kind of want the base of that trim covering the whole thing, and not quite to the front of the route, but close. So it looks like an 1/8 between the edge of our route to the front of our block. If I can piece together how I can decide from where I want the trim to where I want the route, then we'll look at actual. It looks to me like those saddles are pretty far forward, and it looks like they've got a lot of room for travel back. So I think as long as we set it so that the saddles are just inside scale length, I think we'll be alright. I mean, we just screw up a 1/16 of an inch and the damn thing's ruined. So I guess that's all we really need, is to know where those saddles are going to be. In other news, I'm really happy with that seam. To redraw my center line, I had to stare at it a while. We did a pretty good job. Okay, now let's think. If I'm wrong a certain amount, which direction will it be? Will it still be usable? I want it just set as perfect as humanly possible. Ideally, I'd like it to where we need to pull the saddles back just a tiny bit to intonate and be perfect. So there's a little bit of room, but you know, I'm agonizing over this. I think with the block sitting 1/8 of an inch behind the hole, that puts on the high E, just barely that side of the scale length. Best I can tell, but it's hard to measure this. So, until it's actually sitting there, and I don't want to take the block off. As much as I have agonized about pulling the trigger here, I think we got it in the place where we can go ahead and start hogging it out and routing it. It's big enough to make a dent and small enough to not overstep our bounds. I think that's a good call. Okay. Here eventually we will use this. Just not quite yet. Oh, thank God. Yeah, saddles will have to come up a little, but it's not going to be a huge amount. It's not going to be a lot. Whew. Okay, now, next thing. It looks like about a 1/16 of an inch inside scale length. So, they will adjust back nicely. Whew. Terrifying. That would probably be cool if we could take a quick look at string spread. And that is going to work out very nicely. Yeah, perfect. Perfect, perfect. That will be good. Alright, I'm trying to figure out how to set the posts for this. Just looking, trying to measure from what looks like about the center of this recess to this. And I think with the Wilkinson it doesn't super matter because this one is what you really register against and the other it just rests against. And it looks like there's a little wiggle room there. So you get this one set right, and this one can be off a little bit, and it wouldn't be a big deal. Looks like. But looking at them from like center to center, it looked like 2 1/8 of an inch. So I did a little test. This particular drill size is just a little too big. The smaller, I was going to have to hammer them in, and I don't know how in the world I would ever get them back out. They they're capped at the bottom. They're capped at the bottom, so you can't use the old chunk of bolt to drive them out with. Trick. So when they go in, they're going in. Lucky me, the space between those saddles is just big enough for my protractor to sit, so I can see that we are actually sitting. The center is sitting on the center line. The saddles are just in front of 24 3/4. As long as it's a little bit in front of the scale length, we are good, because they've got all the adjustment in the world, all the room in the world to adjust back. It's such a stupid mistake. I should know better. Gibson scale is not 24 3/4. It's 24 9/16. I was looking at this guy. The low E. It's actually a little sharp. It needs to go back just a tiny bit, but as is, that saddle is 24 3/4. The high E, which is intonated, is sitting at 24 5/8. Well, a little less than that, just a little. Okay, so that should be where the bridge actually sits, up against that. So half of that. And my battery's been dead forever, so I can't. It's a dead analog tool now. Okay. Okay, well, this line is right at the edge of the base plate. So, it should correspond to this edge. And the center of that hole should be half of that. So to the center of that hole. So right there-ish. So my best guess right now is right there. I am not 1000% confident, but I may never be. So I'm afraid it's time to do the deed. Hope for the best. And worst case scenario, whatever might possibly screw up, there are things we can do to fix it. With this particular trim, this one sets right in the middle of the hole. This one has quite a bit of room that it could sit on. So, I'm pretty confident we're dead center and it doesn't matter. So we're going to go ahead. We're already committed to this one. We're going to go ahead and poke this one and see what happens. But honestly, if we got to plug a hole, it's you know, it's going to look like shit anyway, so why not plug two? Let's done now. You done did it now. No going back now, bonehead. I think we did good. We are ever so slightly this side short of scale length at the maximum extent of that saddle. Alright, well, now we need to do the back cavity. Thanks for joining me. If you like what we're doing, if you're digging it, like and subscribe. Catch you next time. Like, subscribe.